There's a sock and a cat. Hey. So, welcome to yet another episode of the Dusty Dungeon Master. Hi, this is me. Yeah, you knew it was me the whole time. Don't try to fool yourself. So, today is about one thing that I heard that I thought was absolutely hilarious, and I can't really imagine people believing it, which is, this is stuff. This is stuff. That's stuff. More stuff. D&D is a toolbox. D&D is a sandbox game at its very core, and look. Hey, look. More stuff. More stuff. More stuff. All this stuff. And the thing that drove me insane, look at all these minis that I haven't even opened yet because my army transport bag, wherever that's sitting, that thing is full. That's the horrifying thing. Yeah, this is what's important. Not Dungeon Magazine. But, yeah. What is it? 1 through 18 mounted so far. Anyway, so the important thing is not Dungeon Magazine. It's not Dragon Magazine. It's not going back and collecting all of that stuff. It's finding the things that were, this was late 80s and TSR, early 90s, I think, with Dungeon. I prefer Dungeon over Dragon. Whatever, it's just me. But anyway, yeah, and there's my fat stack of them. And guess what else is in here? Some old modules. And this. I listened to somebody say that people believe that you can just wing it with D&D. That you can get a phone call on a Sunday and your friends want to play D&D and you can just improv it. I'm here to tell you, no. No matter how much stuff that you've bought, until it's information, you don't have enough mechanics in your head to really improv a game. I am not the world's most skilled DM, not one bit. Because my issue is that I started way back here. The Forgotten Realms campaign setting out of 3.5 edition. That was my first campaign setting that I wanted. I desperately wanted it. So 3rd edition was me. That's when I came into the game, mid junior high. And then I fell in love with 4th edition and the ridiculous mechanics of 4th edition. Let's all agree, it's a more tactical RPG that was combat friendly. The problem is that my familiarity is what fuels my ability to improv during a game. So this channel has been, so my major issue is that you could ask me what's on page, you could ask me what page classes are on in the player's handbook for 5th edition. Haven't a clue. Genuinely haven't a clue. And the reason why is because there's nuance in every edition. Nuance. Nuance is not a drastic change, just slight ways to change things. It's a good thing. They take out stuff that worked for some and didn't work for most, and they change it up. And I'm starting to enjoy 5th edition the more I dig into it, which is ridiculous. This is like 6 years into 5th edition coming out. But the difference is with games and D&D games, and well, I've been busy doing all that fun, silly stuff for that Mousefolk adventure. Would you have called my Mousefolk adventure improv? Sort of. But sort of not. Go back a couple episodes, you watch me open the Tome of Adventure Design and get a brief understanding of what my motivator for the plot was going to be. So as the story went, Mr. Dintar was a half giant. He was 300 years old. Thanks, Sumo. He was there on the island of Swansea. He was the lighthouse keeper of Swansea Isle. He was the only person on the island who knew of the mouse folk because they were a very secretive bunch. Why? I don't know. Because I needed some tension so that new players wouldn't just go willy-nilly. It didn't happen at all. The players that I had, I cannot express how good of a fucking game that was. Because we had a base synopsis to work off of. I had a map. I laid it out as a dungeon. I laid it out as a sewer with my sewer tiles. Worked out great. We didn't play with the set at all because everybody was really into the RP side of it, of everything, and figuring out the mystery of the Crimson. So, you've heard names like that before. You've heard guilds called the X, the Y, the Z. You've definitely heard of the Crimson. I can't remember where they're from, but they were prevalent in some book series 1,000 years ago, probably. Or they're a derivative of the Black Hand from Dungeons and Randomness, because I'm a big fan of theirs. In either case, the explanation was that everyone was talking about the Crimson. And I threw it out as a way to misdirect the player characters by the players by making them think whatever they wanted. That was the fun part. They could think that the Crimson was a guild, or they could think that the Crimson was a person, which is what it turned out to be. It turned out to be a gnome sorcerer who was using abjuration magic to make a bunch of stuff appear and disappear, and he stole all this oil that ran a gnome wheel that they used to get cargo across the channel there between the continent and Swansea Isle. It was the only way for them to ship, and the Crimson was barely in the game. He's a whisper, he was a ghost, he was everything. Until the moment that I realized it was starting to get a little late and one of my players was, needed to get back home pretty soon. I figured as much. So, instead of going with the plan that I didn't have, which was broad, figuring out, letting the characters figure out the game. That was the only reason that we did that adventure, was so that we could have a true sandbox experience. I know that Hannah plays, she plays on the Geardan channel, and she is really willing to go with me as a DM, as a half DM PC, which is, having two people in an adventure is strange, and it's experimental in the sense that, well, the next one coming up, we're both digging more into necromancy and understanding how necromancy works in the game. That's the only reason it's happening. But what happens in the campaign is not diminished any more than the idea of trying to figure out how necromancy works according to a whole shitload of old editions, because there's not really that much for it in 5th. There's some good free reign 3rd edition books for it. Of course there are. But I digress. In either case, because we both want to understand and explore necromancy, the adventure comes from around it. So, I'm not going to go too deep into it, but it's just one of those things where this game is improv, but you can't be improv with it. You cannot be improv with your knowledge and your understanding. The only way that you can run like a well-oiled machine and have a good time at the very minimum that you want out of D&D in any format, whether you're playing the old school Renaissance, whether you're playing 5th edition, whether you're playing Planescape, Pathfinder, Starfinder, Doesn't matter. Well, fuck Pathfinder. Anyway, it's weird. It's 3rd edition, just better. Either way, no matter what form of this game that you're playing, you need fluid mechanics and fluid understanding to back up your ability to ebb and flow with the problems that arise from your player characters. Don't plan. Don't plan down to the detail. It's not worth it. Here. Ooh, inside the DM's journal. Here. So, this is a logic tree for one episode of Gyaradan. You know how much of this page happened? Next to none. But having an understanding of where the characters were going to go in that episode or what the overall plot was there, and I made it work. That's what you're shooting for. You don't have to read all of this at all. You don't have to read any of this goofiness. You don't have to collect books as obsessively as I do. Just because, look, City Builder, or Cityscape, Stormrack, Dungeonscape, Tome of Adventure Design, they're great for concision when it comes to, oh, I need to build I need a dungeon in this town for this reason, but what's gonna be in it? They're great. You're putting the parts and the pieces together, and Tome of Adventure Design, all you're doing is flipping a page, rolling 100, and doing your thing. Either roll 100 or roll percentile and a D10. It's that easy, right? But I'll tell you something else. This is one of my favorite things to collect. I love Kingdoms of Kalimar. I hate how they're done. This atlas is nothing but maps. It's a hex build. If you don't know what a hex build is, don't worry about it, because it has nothing to do with your game. For me, I like most of the stuff that they have. The Villain Design Handbook, which is softcover and hardcover. Yeah, a little bit of dork. Can't help it. But anyway, the Villain Design Handbook is great because it's a transferable mechanic to everything. It doesn't matter what you're building a villain for. This is like a word cloud. It's almost like a thought cloud, a big book of brainstorm that you can use to keep flowing and flow further and flow further. This 4th edition, it was a great game. If you like that kind of stuff. If you're getting into, it seems like if you're getting into winter, no, what the hell is it called? There's a new game. It got real big. Black Magic Crafts has been building a bunch of stuff for it, and I keep watching some videos, and I don't play it, but whatever it is, it's like a skirmish game that's based on RPG overall mechanics. Like knowing that the Beholder existed from 1st edition all the way back then, and they can tweak it, they can change it, they can do everything. They can put it in Xanathars. They can write an entire book all about Beholders. But all you need to be a good DM is to know that Beholders exist. You don't need to read endless novels from Forgotten Realms. You really don't need to buy all of this nonsense. But you just got to find a base and work from that base. If you don't have a good base, you are just kids playing pretend, and it's going to cause a lot of issues and fuck everything up. But when you have a good base and a slight understanding of how the game works and what the point of the game is and what your players are after, that's the biggest thing. And take caution, take time to build up your knowledge of the entirety of D&D, the all the stuff. There's plenty of stuff. You don't need to be able to take the mighty glue stick and mimic or be a minor bird for all the information that he gives you. All the information that he's giving you on all the lovely monsters. Beanfolio, DM's Guide, Monster Manual 1 through 4 for 3rd edition, Monster Manual 1 through 3 for 4th edition, all the fun stuff. It's all reasonably similar, except the Kobold Press stuff is really good, by the way. If you don't have the, which I don't, if you don't have the Kobold Press monster manuals, their version of the monster manuals, get them. Please get them. But what I'm trying to point out is that no matter how much you plan, things are going to go different than you think. Don't be scared of that. Don't be bothered by that, because there's parameters in this game that everyone is eventually going to figure out and follow. Delightful parameters of, okay, well, all right, this is how to solve a mystery. It's not by just straight murdering everybody. It's by rolling some insight, using your old thinky holes, your thinky meat pad inside of your brain. Use that, and everybody's gonna get around to that point. After a couple of bad goes happen. It happens. It's okay. Don't worry. A bad session is just a bad session, unless a bad session is so bad that nobody ever comes back. And the way to avoid making sure that no one comes back is familiarity. You don't need to be so knowledgeable on this game that you can draw a fucking family of ropers. Just a full family of ropers with a 40-page backstory in 15 minutes off the top of your head. You don't need to be like that. Some people are. They're great people. They're lovely people. I don't think ropers have families. They just kind of exist. Sorta. Which is, go check that out. Ropers and, oh god, I forget what else he lumped in with the ropers. I forget. Anyway, but either case, just be able to know that shit's a little weird. Super weird. And it's okay. Just calm down. Relax. Don't ever fucking improv. Don't do it. You cannot... I genuinely doubt that after all this time that I've spent listening to endless DM videos, playing the game, doing everything, I genuinely doubt anyone could show up, write out characters for their players, and just wing it. It'd be an extreme rarity. Extreme rarity. Maybe 1 in 10 billion could do that. Because you can't... Oh, let's do that in summation. So in summation, the reason that thinking that you could just improv an entire game with no base or knowledge and all that fun stuff, the fallacy of it comes from... Shit. I had a real good thought and then I lost it. My bad. But anyway, the fallacy certainly comes from... Aha! I remember now. Believing that there is any static to this game that whether in-home games, whether Adventurers Guild, whether just popular notes, popular reality can't influence. Everything's going to influence this game overall. And everything's going to change. And to think that you can have an A to B to C and find some systematic breakdown for how this game works, you won't. You'll find repetitious DMing. That's what you'll find. If you're existing in a moment of time, if you look back over the years and you think, well, we walk into town as adventurers, and all of a sudden a man bursts into the bar because his daughter's gone. You know why it's a trope? Because you played with your older brother. You played with your older brother for your entire fucking life. And you know what your older brother loves to do? Simplify. And when he simplifies, he reduces the expanding, mind-bending, insane, speaking Kingdoms of Kalimar, by the way, the insanity of there should be tropes in the game. There certainly are always going to be tropes, but not mechanical, not constant. There's not anything that you should be able to look at a glance and guess. It's not good. That means your DM is not trying to find anything but a way to control the game. And that's not good. Because this is the kind of game that we play because it's time to step out of reality for a bit, try something new. I don't want to feel like I'm going down to work at the fucking factory and do more dumb shit. Do the same dumb shit I did last time. Well, that's dumb. If I would have kept up the which I did twice in the same game, but with the first arc of Giradan, excuse me, it turned out that two of the gods of Giradan were busy being dicks to each other in different forms. That's real fun. It worked well. It worked well because I had no idea what I was doing at the time when we first started playing again. Hannah and I were both rusty. Rusty. We'll say it that way, just to be polite. Because I'll admit, my passion for D&D, now running into 20 years, 20 plus years of playing, your passion drains. No matter how much you stick it out, it does become routine. And you gotta fight that by maybe stepping away for a little bit. I stepped away for a few years, and anyway, so yeah. The first way that I wrote myself out of a corner was the entire town that she spent all that time in was magic. Yeah. It was all an illusion. It worked. It was God style, God level, illusory magic. It worked. It was a great turn. It was a great turn. Could have been better. Could have been received better. But when I saw how it was received, I realized that let's not fucking use this the whole way through. Let's not do this the whole way through this first arc. And so, missing episode, by the way. If anybody watches Giradan, the episode that's missing is indeed, it was my fault. I had this stupid thing on time lapse. I fucked everything up. It was a technical fault. But I'd seen on one of the 3D printing websites that this thing is called Shambling Mound, or not a Shambling Keep. So instead of a Shambling Mound, it's an actual form. It's an actual golem. And I made it this 1,400 foot tall shambling monstrosity that was a living dungeon. Because Hannah had said that, and in our between times, had said, I really want a dungeon crawl. And as the story was going, we really didn't have any good room for it. So I found an alternative. It worked. Mostly. It worked really well, actually. That episode that's missing, I'm not even sure I have the audio for anymore, but I thought it'd be this shambling thing, this colossal monstrosity. I was using it as a vehicle for getting Hannah to go under the town of Frayne, right? Because that's where That's where Raylon's Manse was originally. They had just uncovered it, so we had a sewer adventure. It was great. Not great, but it was good. We had a sewer adventure. It's pretty dope. And then there was another dungeon crawl, a couple levels of sewer, and then we walked out into Raylon's Manse. I needed to get her there without just saying, fuck it, her little gnome assistant wants to go here. Because that's boring. So I used the shambling thing as a plot motivator by taking it and saying everything that's inside of it is becoming a zombie. She had to fight a bunch of zombies. There were zombies from everywhere on the planet, which was surprising because the 4 continents of Giradan are quite separate, but interconnected. Interconnected through commerce and fun things like that, and boating, and piracy. It's coming. Pirate adventures is coming. Either case, so inside of this 1,400-foot thing were zombies from every continent that were old, new, and the key information of there's a journal from the guy who was digging under Frayne. Here's what he found. It's half a Jakal symbol on it. The only person on that planet that was even familiar with it at the time was Poon Token. That was there. It was somewhere in that thing. Whether every time Hannah was rolling to loot the bodies, as she loves to do, she was either rolling low or it still wouldn't have made sense if it was there. So my dick move, I brought back Spirit, the owlbear, the big sweet owlbear. There's another fun thing. Twist everything you want. Learn the rules, flip them upside down. Learn characters, learn creatures, learn everything. And just say, fuck you. I don't like the way this works. You're gonna do it my way. Owlbears on Giradan, some of them are okay. They're not all murderous. Anyway, so Spirit the owlbear had been eaten, zombified, and around his neck was indeed a case. Inside of that case was the journal that she needed. It was a great delivery system to get her to the next plot point. It also really sucked. It was a good way. It was a good tie-in from prior in the game, and it was a great, good way to bring back another character. But it was also really painful, and I got dice thrown at me over it, which was real fun. It's a real good time, but also it was nice to get that one thing in a long game, which is to know that, to have a player say some obscure information that you wrote down in a backstory to you, the DM, because they care, and you'll get there. But don't ever fucking play with anyone who says that they improv games. They're lying. They're lying, because, and if they do, you're probably not going to have a great time. It's going to be clunky, weird, and fucked up. But if somebody like me tells you, I got an idea, let's play this, I'm going to sit at the end of the table yonder, past all my crap, and I'm going to sit up there, and while my players play, I'm going to figure out directly where they're going and where the plot was going to end up, specifically. But the edges were coming in already. The edges were already colored in. I just didn't have the full picture yet until the game started. It's not improv, because there are scaffolds. There are scaffolds in place to make sure that it runs smooth. Improv, full, genuine improv in this game, it's a lie. It's not possible. I genuinely don't think it is. I really doubt it. I really, really fucking doubt it. Because even, I'm thinking Larry Elmore. It's not, but it might not be Larry Elmore. The gentleman who was in charge of Dungeon Magazine, I watched an interview with him. He has a game that he takes to conventions. And the way that it's improv is that he just has run it so much, he doesn't even have to bring his fucking books with him anymore. And this is an old man at this point. But he's run this one module that he designed in his world, in his campaign world, that he's been working on for an entire lifetime. That's the other thing. Set whatever goal you want. Forgotten Realms isn't even fleshed out. You think you can beat that? But I digress. Anyway, I gotta get out of here because I gotta go pick up Hannah and go have dinner. But there is no improv. There is no one that I know of. There is no one that I will ever meet that I would ever believe that they could say, I will 100% improv tonight for game night. I doubt it. Get a kernel of knowledge. Take it all. Grab the basic rules off of Wizards. If you've never played before, if you've never DM'd before, run through the very, very basic stuff. That little PDF that they have to print it out, run through it. What's familiar? Well, Rangers. Aragorn. Take your knowledge of watching Lord of the Rings that one time and work with it. That's improv. That's genuine improv, but it's not full improv because you already have the understanding of this whole world. You'll do fine. You'll do fine. You'll figure it out. I promise. But seriously, I couldn't wrap my head around hearing that the other day, so I just want to sit and make a little diatribe and throw up another video because we're in the middle of getting ready to start another leg of Gírdan. New adventure coming soon. We're gonna do diddlies with the deads. That's an awkward fucking thing to say. We're not gonna diddle the dead. We're gonna fiddle with the dead until they're not dead again. Nah, shit.